Hi friends, welcome to Crack Greatly. We are back with an important lecture from today. So today in the news, the most important news from the RBI is the Honorable Prime Minister has launched two new scheme for the Reserve Bank of India, right? So when it comes to scheme, yes, these are new scheme, but these are not something new that we are knowing because if we have been following means uh, you have in the past you have seen that the governor and the deputy governor have been speaking about this scheme that RBI is about to bring, right? And today is that day when the RBI has launched this two scheme. So let's begin with the scheme. What are these two schemes that RBI has launched? Okay, so the RBI has launched first is RBI Retail Direct Scheme, and number two is this one Reserve Bank Integrated Ombudsman Scheme RBIOS. Right. So you can say this: the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi launched the following scheme of the Reserve Bank of India in presence of the Finance Minister and the Governor and the other executive body of the central bank. Right. So let's begin with the details of the news and let us now understand why and what's the background of this news, right? Which I have which I have earlier told you. RBI has first flagged this initiative in a February policy. So review while calling it as a major structural reform. In July, the central bank said investor will have access to bidding in primary auctions as well as the central bank's trading platform for government security called NDS, Negotiated Dealing System. So you see this is an very important piece of news, right? So you as a retail investor, we will have now access to government bonds or gilt bonds, right? And RBI has leveraging technology and innovation for enhancing the efficiency of its services. RBI's developmental role is focused on further deepening of financial inclusion and undertaking people-centric initiative. So see, this is an important line. This was the line spoken by the governor. Now, why it is relevant that we should know all these lines because we have descriptive paper, right? And we should know what when the governor or the deputy governor speaks, it is about the sentiment of the central bank, right? What central bank thinks as an organization about the economy, what central bank thinks as an you know uh, as an outreach to its services for the well-being of the people of India. So we should know all those. Exact line is obviously not important, but you should know. Let's say RBI has been leveraging technology. So when you know this thing that the governor is speaking on, and if you have any question where you will have to, write about your analysis or you have to connect about what is there in the future, you can mention that this is what the central bank thinks, and in future maybe central banks will be coming out with this kind of initiative or something like that, right? So that is why reading these lines, understanding. So this is called reading between the lines. So this line is directly not important, absolutely not important, but you this is a theme that you should know that what central bank sentiments is, and when that thing reflect in your answer, again your answer is standing out from the rest. So that you will have to understand. Now, what is retail direct scheme, right? So let us understand the first scheme, that is retail direct, RBI retail direct investment. This scheme allows retail investors to buy and sell government securities online, both in primary and secondary market. Okay, so now what is the way to do that? Mutual funds, right? Mutual funds, because when you invest in mutual funds, and the mutual funds which are directly committed to government security, I mean connected to the government security, you can as a retail investor you invest, but in a direct indirect mode through mutual funds, right? But here you will be directly allowed to invest in the government bonds, which can be considered as even safer than a fixed deposit because this is being guaranteed by the sovereign government, sovereign bond as we say, both in primary and secondary market. Now, according to details provided by RBI, this small investor can now invest in GSEC by opening a gilt security account with the RBI. So as of now, you are not able to, or we as a retail investors are not able to open a any kind of account with the Reserve Bank of India, right? So Reserve Bank of India is only banker to the government, right? Banker to the nation, banker to the bank. That's it. But it was never a banker to a retail public. But you see, with this kind of initiative by the Reserve Bank of India, now you and me will be holding an account in the Reserve Bank of India where we will not keep our money, but we will buy the government security. Then the account opened will be called Retail Direct Gilt Account, right? So what will be the name of the account? Like we have a saving account. Every bank have different kind of different name for the saving account. This will be known as Retail Direct Gilt Account, RDG. Okay, you cannot afford to forget this thing. So, according to notification issued by RBI, a retail investor can now open the RDG account if they have the following: what? A rupee saving bank account maintained in India, means any saving account with any of the bank or participating bank. It is still not clear, right? So, at this point of time, we assume that all the banks will be offered, right? Like you can see, I will give you an example here of electoral bond, right? So every bank is not the participating bank in electoral bank. Mostly you can buy it from the SBI, right? So it is still not clear who will be the participating banks, through which we can invest that amount. Then PAN card, any official valid document such as Aadhaar, voter ID for and KYC purpose, a valid email ID and a registered mobile number. That is what you need to open. Keep this document ready if you want to invest in the government securities in the future. Then let's move further with few more details. Participations and allotment of security will be as per the non-competitive scheme. Only one bid per security is permitted. So you can, say it's like an IPO. Okay, so let's not complicate the things. You know what is the allotment process of an IPO? It's again a non-competitive scheme. So that is how it is. Okay, only one bid per person is permitted. But in IPO, you can bid with multiple amounts and with multiple uh, numbers. But using one account, you can bid only one time. That is a fact with the IPO. So let's move further. On submission of the bid, the total amount payable will be displayed. Payment to the aggregator and receiving office can be made through using the net banking or UPI facility from the linked bank account, whereby funds will be debited at the time of submission of bids on the portal. Mostly, it's like of it's you are purchasing something, you will be paid for that amount. You will pay for that amount and you will get credited the government security. Then let's move further with few more details. Registered investor can access the secondary market transaction link on the online portal to buy or sell government security through NDSOM, right? For buying of government bond, payments can be made through either the following ways. Before the starting of the trading hours or during the day, the investor should transfer fund to the designated account of Clearing Corporation of India NDS account. Based on the actual transfer success message, a fund limit buying limit will be given for placing the buy orders. At the end of the trading session, any excess fund lying to the credit of the investor will be refunded. So, see, it's like, so many of you, I assume that you hold a depository account with any of the trading or brokerage firm, right? Maybe it's Zerodha, Sharekhan, and etc. etc. So, what you have to do while you buy have to equity shares, you will have to, transfer the amount from your saving account to the depository account of that particular company, right? So it's not an immediate process. It's not an immediate process. When you do that, it takes some times for that amount to get reflected in your trading account, right? Only then you get a margin. Let's say you transferred 100, but you can obviously purchase more than 100 rupees of share because there is an arrangement called margin. So let's not discuss that. So this same kind of arrangement, you will have it here. So Clearing Corporation of India, NDSOM, there you are going to transfer the fund from your net banking or through the UPI, and then you will have an option of buy according to the money you transferred, right? And if there is any amount left on your that account, it will be refunded after the end of the session. Understood? But in case of equity account, what happens? That amount is there in your trading account. It will only come back to you when you withdraw from that account. So that's the only difference between this and that equity account. So let's move forward with the next one, that is integrated RBI integrated ombudsman scheme. This will help in improving the grievances redress mechanism for resolving customer complaints against the RBI regulated entities. So, according to the PMO, the Prime Minister Office, the scheme is based on one nation, one ombudsman with one portal, one email, and one address for the customer to launch their complaint. So, see, this is again very important. Okay, reducing complexities from the end of consumers. Let's say we have a problem with a particular banking service, okay, or something, maybe the terms and condition between you and the bank, there is a dispute between you and a bank regarding some of the other terms and condition. So the only option right now is to complain on the bank. Their grievance officer is going to help. Obviously every bank will continue to keep their grievance officer, because everybody wants to fix the problem in home rather than going it to the regulator. But understood? So, and when it is not being solved through the internal mechanism of any bank, then as a consumer you can obviously go to Reserve Bank of India and complain against that, right? So with this, there is always an assurity that your voice will be heard. Okay, if you are wrong everywhere, no problem. So even if when we go to court, one party is always wrong, right? The other party is always right and one party is always wrong, still there is court. Even if the other guy or the other person is wrong, the court listens, right? So that is what is called judgment, that is what is called justice. So in this case also, the same thing, maybe either of you or we as a retail customer is wrong, or the bank is wrong, right? So RBI will listen to both the parties and will decide on it. So this is an integrated ombudsman scheme, right? And as per the PMO, it's one nation, one ombudsman with one portal, one email, one address, and where consumer can launch their complaint. Consumers will be able to file complaints, submit documents, track status, and give feedback through a single email address. This is very important steps toward reforming, right? Towards reform. Because see, we as a citizen, what do we want from our regulator, right? We want easiness of doing everything, right? We want easiness. If the structure is very complex, ठीक है, करना है करेंगे, नहीं करना है नहीं करेंगे, it will be that kind of attitude. But the if the steps are so simple, then even the bank will think again and again that a consumer can go to RBI, that is who is their boss, who is their regulator. Then there will also be a multilingual toll-free number that will provide all the relevant information on the grievances redress, right? So again, there would be someone from the RBI who is going to help you throughout the process using the toll-free number. And why this is important? See, this is an very important reform. This is not a scheme, right? Maybe this is a scheme. It is written as a scheme, but take this as a reform. Okay, so this is a reform in the economy. In terms of what is RBI integrated ombudsman, it's just an scheme, just another scheme of the Reserve Bank of India, just another scheme for the banking system, right? Just another scheme for the government. But look it as a reform for the entire economy, where where the regulator has made things easy for both of us, for the banks as well and for the retail consumer as well. Because when the process becomes so easy, even bank will think twice and thrice, to maybe if bank is at wrong play, bank is wrong and bank knows it, and bank will try to defend, everyone try to defend their decision, their terms and conditions, right? But when the process becomes so easy, even they will have to think twice and thrice and adjust according to the new reform, new formula and everything, because you can obviously go anytime and you can obviously go and complain against the bank. So this is a reform and you should have all the details of it. Now there will be a single point of reference for a customer to file their complaint, submit the document, track and provide feedback. Under this scheme, there will be a very sorry. This is the repetition of the previous line. Then the redressal will continue to be cost free for consumer, for banks and members of the public. It will be free of cost. Then The executive director in charge of the Consumer Education and Protection Department of the RBI would be the appellate authority under this scheme. So there is an appellate authority as well. Who is that appellate authority? The executive director in charge of the Consumer Education and Protection Department of the Reserve Bank of India, right? So let's see powers and function of the ombudsman. So the ombudsman or deputy ombudsman shall consider the complaint of the consumer of regulated entities relating to the deficiency in this service. Okay, ombudsman or the deputy ombudsman. There is no limit on amount in a dispute that can be brought before the ombudsman for which ombudsman can pass an award. Even if, let's say, you have rupees 10 dispute with a very big bank, let's say HDFC or SBI bank, right? You can go. There is no limit. So, however, for any consequential loss suffered by a complaint, the ombudsman shall have the power to provide a compensation up to rupees 20 lakh in addition to up to rupees 1 lakh for the loss of complaints time. So, if you are right and you have been running behind the bank, okay, for getting that rectified, so based on that, the authority can award you rupees 1 lakh for the loss of time because you were right and you were running behind for the service. Okay. So look at the level of reform that the bank has taken. Then, when the ombudsman, while the ombudsman shall have the power to address and close all complaints, the deputy ombudsman will have the power to close those complaints falling under the clause 10 of the section and complaints settled through felicitation as stated in the clause 14 of the scheme. So, this in depth is not important, right? Let's say here, what question can be framed? It can be framed like consider the following statement, or it can directly ask you, like if the deputy ombudsman will have the power to close all complaints, the answer would be no. Okay, or it can be said that who has the power to close all the complaints in RBI integrated ombudsman scheme? It's only the ombudsman. That's it. Deputy ombudsman cannot close. It can only close when it comes to the complaint which are falling under clause 10, okay, which are and the complaints settled through the felicitation clause 14 of the scheme. Then the ombudsman shall send to the deputy governor Reserve Bank of India a report as on March 31st every year containing a general review of the activities of the office during the preceding financial year and shall furnish such other information as the Reserve Bank need direct, right? So it's an, you can say it's an autonomous body, will be working under the umbrella of Reserve Bank of India, and every year they would be reporting to a deputy governor regarding their overall yearly activities and any other information that is relevant. Then the Reserve Bank may, if it considers necessary in the public interest to do so, publish the report and the information received from the ombudsman in such consolidated form or otherwise as may be deemed fit. So the bank is going to decide in future if they, for knowledge purpose, obviously, if they want to, make it public or not, that bank will decide from time to time. So with this, let's see the importance of a scheme. What is the importance of this scheme? The move comes at a time when raising inflation adds pressure to the RIF to the RBI. See, the bank, the inflation is moving up, right? You can see the inflation numbers is moving up. And what bank have to do control the inflation? It should reduce the interest rate, reduce the interest rate. And when the interest rate reduces, okay, then what happens? Tighter monetary policy is likely to weaken the demands for bonds, making it challenging for the government to execute its near record borrowing program, right? So see, so, if you do not know the relation between the interest rate and bond, then I would request you to go and search for a video in our YouTube channel where we have explained the relationship between the interest rate and the bond and how they are inversely related to each other. The bond yield is inversely related to the interest rate because if the interest rate is high, you will invest in the FDs and all. You will not invest in the bond. And when the bond yield is high, you will not do it here. And if the bond yield is high, means it is loss for the government. Why? Because government has to shell more amount to pay interest or to pay the interest, you can say, to pay interest in that certain amount. right? But for we as a consumer, we will think more the bond yield, the better it is, right? So yes, there is a relationship between all these things, and we have explained it in a much better way in that video. So please go ahead and watch that video. Then other emerging markets in Asia like Philippines have also sought to raise funds from the citizen to battle the pandemic, right? And it's also good. You see, when the it's a sovereign bond, so there is no question of you know uh, any doubt that it will not be repaid. A bank can fail, but even yes, a government can fail. You have seen in the recent past, I think Zimbabwe, Cuba, Venezuela. So these are the examples where we have seen government failing, right? But let us not consider that situation. Okay, so it's obviously good when the government will fund our own welfare program through our own money, and we will be enjoying that interest. So irrespective, so that amount is not going out of the country. That amount is coming to us only. So our own money is coming to us in two ways. In number one, through the welfare program. Number two, through the interest. Right? So yes, this is again a good step. Then yield of India's benchmark 10-year government bond have risen in the past 5 months amid surging crude oil prices. They eased in November after the government cut taxes retail fuel. So again, if the yield is high, that is loss for the government, right? So more and more people will come into the government security market. More will be the demand, less will be the yield. Okay, so that is what the theory of demand and supply says, and that is very simple to understand. But the relationship between all these things may at quite a sometimes feel challenging to understand, and we have explained that in one of our video. Please go ahead and watch that. So with this, we have come to the end of this lecture. Let's meet in the next lecture. Till then, we wish you very good luck for your examinations. Thank you from Team Crack JP.